I was inspired by some macramé napkin rings that I saw on Pinterest for these, and they are really quick and fun to make, and I can't wait to show you how to make them, so stay tuned. If you want to know what supplies are used, just see the description box below. For this tutorial, you're going to need 9 10mm beads and 1 16mm bead per napkin ring. So go ahead and, using your yarn needle, thread 9 of the 10mm beads onto your working yarn. Now you can use 8mm beads as well, but these are just what I had on hand. So once you've got all 9 of the 10mm beads on there, add your 16mm bead. To begin, make a slip knot and chain 3. Now you're going to place your 16mm bead flush against your hook. Chain 1 to secure the bead. Now we're going to turn, and in that very first chain stitch we made, we're going to double crochet. This is what your piece should look like. We are going to be working around the post of the double crochet. So for row 1, you're going to chain 2, that will count as a half double crochet, and around that post that we just made, you're going to make 5 more half double crochet. Now we are going to work into the stitch that we made our double crochet in. It should be the very first stitch of our foundation chain. So we are going to put 2 half double crochet in that space. A chain 1 and 2 more half double crochet in that space. Now we are going to be working around the chain 3 that we began with. We are going to put 6 half double crochet around that beginning chain. So if you count your stitches, you should have 6 half double crochet on this side of your piece. And then in the chain space, you should have 2 half double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 more half double crochet, and then 6 more half double crochet. You should have a total of 16 half double crochet. Now we're going to begin row 2. So chain 1 and turn. Place a bead to your hook and chain 1 to secure it. Now for this row, we are going to be working in the 3rd loop of our stitches. So here's the back loop, here's the front loop, and here is the 3rd loop. We are going to skip the very first stitch right there, and we're going to single crochet in the 3rd loop of the next stitch. Now you're going to place a bead against your hook, chain 1 to secure it, skip the next stitch, and single crochet in the 3rd loop of the next stitch. We're just going to keep doing this until we get to the chain 1 space of the point. Now as you see, we are at the chain 1 space here. I am actually making that single crochet in that last 3rd loop. Then I'm chaining 1 to secure that bead, and I'm going back into the chain 1 space there and going into the back hump of the chain one. So you're actually not skipping any stitches at the chain one space. But now I'm going back to skipping once I reach the other side. So here we are at the last stitch. You're going to place a bead, and you're still going to chain one to secure it, but we don't have any to skip really because we're on the last stitch. So go down and slip stitch into the top of the chain two there that we began our last row with. And this is what your piece should look like. I'm going to get rid of this tail right here. Pull it a little tighter and then cut it. So this is what your piece should look like. You should have 9 of these beads and then 1 giant bead at the top, and it will lay flat when we get done, trust me. So now we're going to chain 1 and turn. Now we are going to, starting with this first beaded chain 1 space, make a half double crochet in every chain 1 space and in every single crochet until we get to the point. By the time you reach the chain 1 space of the point, you should have 8 half double. So here we are at the point, right here. This is a beaded chain 1 space. We are going to increase, so make 2 half double crochet, a chain 1, and 2 more half double crochet in that same chain space. Now we're just going to continue up the other side and half double crochet in the next 8 stitches. And this is our last stitch of the row, and you should have 20 half double crochet when you are done with this row. Now we are going to chain 1 and turn. Again, we are going to be working in the third loop only, and I am just going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the third loop only of every half double crochet we just made until we get to the chain 1 space of the point. You should have 10 single crochet in the third loop by the time you reach the chain 1 space of the point. In the chain 1 space of the point, we are going to make 2 single crochet, a chain 1, and 2 more single crochet. Now working in the third loop, back up the other side, make a single crochet in the last 10 stitches. You should have 24 single crochet when you are done with this row. And this is what it should look like. Now we are going to do our last row, so chain 1 and turn. We are going to loosely slip stitch in every single crochet stitch and in the chain 1 space of the point. Make sure you are doing it loosely. This last row will just help it hold its shape and make it look more defined. Don't forget the chain 1 here. Make sure you're slip stitching into that chain 1 stitch and not the space. By the end of this row, you should have 25 slip stitches because we included the chain 1 stitch in our slip stitches. So this is what your piece should look like. And now it's time to add our wooden ring. Now for my wooden ring, I'm going to measure it. It can be slightly smaller than this, but mine is about 7 centimeters and about 2.75 inches. Like I said, it could be a little bit smaller, but this size is perfect. So now we are going to chain 1 and we are going to slip stitch into the wooden ring. So just place it between your working yarn and your hook and go ahead and slip stitch. Now move that wooden ring to the right and place your hook in the next stitch and pull up a loop. Put the ring between your hook and your working yarn, yarn over, and draw through 2 loops. We're basically single crocheting through the wooden ring. So I'm just going to continue repeating this process. Place your hook in the next stitch and pull up a loop. Put your ring between your hook and your working yarn and draw through both loops. I'm doing this a total of 11 stitches across the top. By the time you reach the chain 1 space that contains your 16 millimeter bead, you should have 5 stitches. So here I have done a total of 5 single crochet into the wooden ring, and now I should be on my 6th stitch, and this is going to help hold that bead down. So go ahead and single crochet into that chain space there. And continue on to the other side. You should have 5 single crochet through the wooden ring on this side as well. This is our last stitch to join the ring to our piece. And this is how your piece should look. I squished the stitches together to help it lay down a little more flat. So I want this side to look like this side right here. So I'm not going to slip stitch to join because that won't look the same. So I'm going to do an invisible join. So just watch me carefully. This is how you do an invisible join. So now I'm going to cut my yarn and take it to the back side to finish securing the stitch. It's still not going to be perfect because the wooden ring kind of makes everything pooch out. But once you hide that tail, it should look about the same. So this is what your piece should look like. Go ahead and hide that tail, and then we're going to add fringe all the way around. So I just use my fingers, but if you're going to use cardboard, I'd say it's about 3.5 inches. And I'm just doing 1 strand of fringe per stitch. So you should have 25. So go ahead and wrap your fingers 25 times and just cut them evenly. They don't have to be perfect because we will trim them after we attach them. So I'm using a smaller hook. This is a size F hook. It doesn't really matter. You just want to be able to easily get into these stitches. So these are the slip stitches here, and then behind them are the single crochet stitches. So go into the stitches behind them, and going from back to front, we are going to secure this fringe using the lark's knot. And when you go to pull the knot tighter, pull down, because you are going to want your fringe to lay a little more flat. So just continue doing this all the way around until you're finished. And this is what your piece should look like. I've already trimmed this piece. And your boho napkin ring is complete. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching.